Most people don't have a motivation problem. They have a comfort problem. They want change, but they also want to feel safe, ready, and confident first. And that's exactly why nothing changes, because growth doesn't happen inside your comfort zone, but stepping out of it doesn't have to be as extreme as you think. So today I'm going to show you how to actually get out of your comfort zone without overwhelming yourself or quitting 2 days later, because this isn't about doing something crazy. It's about doing something slightly uncomfortable consistently. So welcome to our show today. I'm Belinda Ellsworth, and we are going to be talking about getting out of your comfort zone, stretching yourself a little bit, making yourself a little bit uncomfortable, because when we do this, this is where we see the greatest amount of growth. This is where we see amazing things happen. And for a lot of people, the reason nothing ever happens is because of what? Worry, doubt, fear, all the things that sort of overtake you and want to keep you in that safe space or within that box. Like a lot of people, a lot of times will say you need to think out of the box. Well, part of that is thinking about doing something different. It's about doing it in a different way than you've always done it, and getting out of your comfort zone and trying new things or different things that maybe you've always dreamed of and just haven't had the courage to walk out on it. So let's dive in and let's talk about some tips or steps that can really help you to get out of that comfort zone and start seeing some real growth. All right, first, it's not about huge, scary leaps. I think that's the first thing that people mistake, is that, oh, getting out of my comfort zone must mean completely changing everything that I do. It has to be huge. It has to be big. It has to be spectacular. A lot of people feel that way about goals, which is why they don't set goals, because they feel that whatever it is they're trying to accomplish isn't worthy of actually setting a goal or saying it out loud or doing it. And in reality, that's why people avoid it, because they can't think of anything big or different or some big leap that they need to take. You need to shift your thinking to what? Small discomforts, speaking up maybe when you haven't in the past, posting something different or doing videos that you've never done before, trying something brand new and doing it a different way than you have over the past years. Growth doesn't require a leap. It requires a step. So the first thing with most things is it's about getting things straight in your head first. So remember, it doesn't have to be huge or fantastic. It just has to be some small, direct changes that you're doing things a little bit differently. 2, expect resistance. And where's that resistance from? Well, most of the resistance is from yourself, but you are going to get resistance from others around you. First of all, your brain wants to keep you safe. So it's going to tell you, oh, I don't know if this is a good idea. Are you really able to do this? What if it goes wrong? What if you fail? You're better off just staying right what you know works. That's what our brain is going to tell us, because it's trying to protect you. Discomfort is a signal that you're stretching, that you are growing. So lean into that discomfort a little bit and be able to step out and say, I'm willing to try. What's the worst thing that can happen? On Wednesday, we are going to talk about risk factors and how to analyze those. And we're going to kind of continue this conversation. One of the things I've really enjoyed doing to keep our videos kind of short and to the point is taking a theme for the week. And this week is getting out of your comfort zone, and then actually breaking it up into different pieces so that you can get bite-sized information on how to really see change in a particular area of your life, or how we can take a topic and you can actually grow with it throughout the week. So normalize doubt and overthinking. That's another problem that a lot of people have, is they just start overthinking it to death. And it's better just to say, okay, let's explore. What would this look like? I like to write everything down on paper. Like if I start getting a thought, I like to write it all out. And what's been really interesting for me is I would always write it out myself and then sort of tweak it and then sort of run it by about, 5 or 6 different people, get their feedback, make some tweaks, make some adjustments, get some insights. A lot of times if it's a new product, you can actually talk to some of your best customers, ask them what they think about that. Getting feedback is huge, and a lot of people are afraid of the feedback. Feedback is good. If somebody tells you that, oh, this just isn't quite right, you need to listen to it. It might not be exactly right, but there's usually a kernel, of truth in things that people say, or sometimes they'll tell you something that you completely didn't even think about. I had a really great idea that I've been working on that I probably will share with you at some point on here. But I ran it by about 6 friends. And I said, I really value your opinion. Tell me what you think about this. And each one of them gave me a different thought or insight, which has allowed me to go back to the drawing board. And then I've put it into ChatGPT. What do you think of this? I didn't do it straight out of the gate. I really wanted to sort of get some real feedback from some people first, then put all of my data in there and have it actually spit out like a real outline for me. And it's been amazing. So if you haven't really used it or you've been afraid of using AI in certain situations, it has saved me a lot of time in doing a lot of things. I probably could be using it for a lot more. I'm not saying I'm an expert by any means, and it isn't something that I really did lean into, but now I am starting to really see the benefit. And this was something that really, it gave me, things to think about, different ways to approach things like objections that maybe I hadn't considered or my friends hadn't considered. So it was really nice to have that perspective. So make sure that you are getting some input. And remember this, that first resistance comes from yourself. But you are also going to have friends that don't want to see you change. And why in the world is that? It's not that they want to see you fail, but it's because they lack the courage so much to step out and do new things that a lot of times they'll put that insecurity on you. Because there might even be a little bit of resentment that, gosh, this person, how do you do this? How do you just come up with these ideas? I've been told that pretty much my whole life. Where do you even think of this stuff? How do you do that? Like, isn't that going to represent this? Well, what about that? And most of their ideas are things that they would never do. So they're projecting their insecurities, their lack of taking a risk. They're even sometimes mad at themselves because maybe taking a risk seems like it comes easy for you and they just want to stay in that comfort zone box so badly that they'd rather not see you succeed because it's a reflection of their own selves that they're not willing to try new things. Now, that's not everybody, and that's why it's important when you are going to get feedback from people. Customers, I just do it random. I do long-term customers. I'll do new customers because then I just want to sort of get feedback, right? And that's really good feedback. But when I have an idea that I'm working on and I might want to tweak, then I reach out to my friends I know that really want to see me succeed. That isn't going to be part of that dynamic. But I promise you, if you just go to your friends, your family, and you don't have that core group of really good supporters that are going to honestly give you good feedback. And I have a couple of friends that are very risk averse, right? And so I do like to reach out to them. I take everything that they say with a grain of salt because I know that they're going to be more, I don't know. Well, why would you want to do that? Or who's going to even do that? Why would anybody even want to buy that? Like they just really have a hard time. And sometimes I do. I like their feedback because they make me position it differently. Like, why would anybody want that? Okay, I need to make sure that I'm covering that, which I usually do, but I need to make sure that I'm doing that. So you got to keep that in mind that you are going to get resistance. Tip number 3, lower the risk in your mind. So most of the times you will ask, what if I fail? What will people think? Reframe it to what is actually the worst case scenario. That is one of the things that I like to do is I like to make a list of pros and cons, and then I like to list what is the absolute worst thing that could happen. And can I live with that? Could I adjust to that? How could I fix that? Like if you can already start to sort of overcome some of the obstacles or objections as they might occur with expectations, you're going to already have a solution. You're not going to be blindsided when actually something happens. So I like to write out all the pros, the cons, and then worst case scenario. Because if I can live with worst case scenario and I can recover from that, then what the heck? What's wrong with giving this a try? What have you got to lose? And that's what you want to reframe in your mind. What is the actual worst thing that could happen? But what's the best thing that could happen? That's what a lot of people don't ask themselves is like, what's the worst thing that could happen? I can live with that. But the same question needs to be, but what's the best thing that could happen if I took a leap of faith? If I did things differently, if I tried something new, what's the absolute best thing that could happen? And that far outweighs the worst thing. Unless you can't live with the worst thing, then you might want to reassess or exactly, how you want to lean into this new idea. Tip number 4 is do it before you feel ready. You're never going to feel ready. And I know this because it's one of my Achilles heel. We talked about this on self-sabotage. Like, what are the things that can hold you back from being the success that you really were meant to be? And all of us have one of these 5 different characteristics. And for me, it is that perfectionism / procrastination. And I can tell you that I have come a long way in big strides and I just don't do that as much as I did many years back. Now that comes with probably some wisdom, experience, trying new things and having failures and realizing that it wasn't the absolute end of the world. And I recovered and I moved on to the next project and nobody even remembered. Like I can tell you, I've had a couple of pretty big failures in my career. Now, if I had more successes in my career, heck yeah. If I hadn't ever stepped out and tried new things, I would not have had 30 years of really great success in running a business, having a team, speaking to hundreds of different companies, thousands of different individuals. Like I wouldn't have had all of that. And that was scary for me to do in the very beginning. But I can tell you that had I not done that, then I wouldn't be where I am. Now, was I completely ready when I started my speaking business? I wasn't, because I didn't even know what I didn't know. I got myself ready and then I started, pitching myself and getting a couple of things. And immediately people were like, oh, you don't have anything to buy? Like you don't have your program on, at that time was cassette tapes. I'm like, no, but we are working on that. And man, I went home from the second time I heard that, after the second speaking engagement that I heard that, I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to find a studio. I need to figure out what I'm going to record. I need to get in there and I need to do it right now, like right now. And I did. And, it was scary, but then we sold out of everything that I had pre-ordered, like on one of my first big speaking engagements. So it was exciting. So I just want to remind you that you have to look at, well, what's the best thing that could happen? And most people don't. They don't really say, like, I changed my whole life with that best thing that could happen. And it was scary because I had to believe in myself in a way that I hadn't in a very long time. And I thought, what's the worst thing that can happen? The worst thing that can happen is my speaking business doesn't take off. I'm really good in sales. I will go back and get a sales job. because I had already had a sales job for 16 years. So for sure, if I'm going to now teach sales and it doesn't work, well, I can go back to being in sales. Absolutely, because I was always one of the top salespeople within the different companies that I worked for. So for sure I could do that. So that's what I decided. And fortunately, I also did everything in my power to make sure that it worked. And did I tweak things along the way? Absolutely. I first got more products, then I tweaked putting those in pricing them and putting them in packaging. And then I actually tweaked my order form. That was the biggest thing, was the way that I led people when they were sitting in their seat, so that I didn't have to, from the stage, say everything, because lots of companies don't like that. They don't want you sitting there using up your time in your keynote, and I don't blame them. I never blame them. I never did a big sales pitch from the stage. I did a 30-second one. Most companies said, that's fine. But they had everything in front of their face that laid it all out, led them right exactly down. If you're here, you might want this package. If you are here, then you might want this package. If you are here, this might be a really good fit for you. If you are looking to, like, I answered all of their questions in the brochure that they all had on their lap, that had my bio in it, and then led them through the whole sales process so that I didn't have to do that from the stage. And the more that I tweaked that flyer, the greater my sales were. Because the first one that I did was just like, it was a single one sheet. And then my friend said, oh, he was in insurance. He said, I've been to a lot of these, and let me show you some examples of some things that I've seen. And so then I was like, okay. And then I completely reworked mine. And probably over the course of the 25 years of doing that, I retweaked that thing probably 6 times. You don't have to have everything perfect before you start, or you more than likely will never start. So keep that in mind. Do it before you're ready. You will learn as you go. You will tweak, because no matter if you think you know everything, you're going to start and things are going to go awry, and you're going to have to tweak things, and you're going to run into a roadblock that you weren't expecting. So why not just start and experience the roadblocks as you're going, and then work through them and start to see success sooner? Absolutely. All right. And tip 5 is build evidence for yourself. So meaning, you really want to start, every time you do something uncomfortable, you build trust and stack those moments together. Like, revisit your successes. Like, well, when I did that, revisit, just like I told that story, it even reminds me, like, yeah, that's what I did. So you have to present yourself with the evidence that you're perfectly capable, and that you know what you're doing, and you've had success in the past, and this is just a new venture. It's just something new and something different. So connecting it all together. It is just really important that getting out of your comfort zone isn't a one big moment. It is a bunch of tiny moments strung together that end up being something spectacular. And it may not be, and that's okay, because you will learn from that. And I was going to say a minute ago about those failures. It's the failures I have had in my career. And I can actually say, like, I can name off like 3 big ones. There's been some little ones along the way, but there were 3 big ones. And I have to say, not a single person has ever said to me, hey, whatever happened with such and such? Not a single time. We're so worried that everybody's watching and everybody's going to remember. And most people, they're so focused on themselves that they don't know that you tried something and it didn't work out. They don't ever remember that. They look at what you're doing and how it's working, and they're going, gosh, I wish I had the courage to do something like that. That's what people are thinking. So quit worrying about what people are thinking. Quit worrying about, oh my gosh, how am I going to look? What are people going to think? They're not. They're actually thinking absolutely nothing. So that I can say without a shadow of a doubt. Like, I have never had anybody say, oh, by the way, what happened to that one jewelry company that you started? Oh, yeah, that was a big old flop. And you know what? I have had a couple people like after that said, oh, I thought you were doing this jewelry thing. And I said, you know what? I learned a lesson in that on picking the right business partner, and that you need to do a little bit more research and vet somebody and not get carried away with your enthusiasm. That was my learning lesson for that. But you know what? It was a good product. It was a good idea. It just wasn't the right timing. And so people were like, oh, well, you live and learn. Yep. Who cares? Like, it didn't end me. It just didn't work. And so you move on from that. So join us on Wednesday when we're going to really dive into how to really take risks and do them safely. So that's going to be our topic. Again, this whole week is about getting out of your comfort zone. So don't forget to hit subscribe. That really helps us have more people see this. And we're trying to grow this channel. And if you liked what you heard today and you think somebody can really benefit from this, don't forget to share. Thank you so much, everyone. And we'll see you again on Wednesday.